So in the last video, we talked about making patterns using one of the rows of a sequencer. And I mentioned that we might use another row for something else. Well, today we're going to look at using it as a control voltage. That control voltage could go to anything. It could go to a filter, it could go to the cutoff frequency, it could go to the resonance. Today what I want to do though is I want to play with the panning. We have a couple of modules that can do panning that are very cool. So one of them is the Q148 VCA++, and one of them is the Q158 VCA2++. So we're going to take a look at both of those, do some panning with the sequencer. The cool thing about doing it with the sequencer is the panning is always synchronized to the sequence. So let's look at that. This bottom row I'm going to use as a control voltage. So I have the output of it going to a VCA that can pan left and right. The CV is going over to the Q158 VCA2++, and I have that set up for panning. So if I were to go left, right, left, right, left, right. So by panning them left and right, every step will be in an opposing channel. So it'll sound like this. So we get a stereo effect. And the cool thing about doing it this way is the panning is synchronized to the sequencer. If we slow the sequencer down. So that's a way that you could pan back and forth and have it synchronized to the sequencer. Otherwise, you could just do it with an LFO and have it not be synchronized, and we'll show you that too. Now, these are hard pans. We don't have to do hard pans. What we could do is 0, do a quarter, do a half, 3/4, full, 3/4, a half, 1/4, and now it's going to pan gradually back and forth. Okay. Now by itself, that's not a big deal, but if you're layering like we typically do on a modular, we might have a bass drone like that. We could have that going back and forth, and then we might have another arpeggio running mono. Now I also want to show you the Q148 VCA++. That was the first module I got. It does a similar thing. So this module has a VCA, a regular VCA at the top, and then you also have a panning adjustment down here, which is control voltage controlled. And then you have your left-right outputs. Okay, works great. This module is cool because it has not only a regular VCA, it's got panning, it's got your left and right outputs already there, it's got a tuner. You have a couple of notes, A and a C, to tune your other oscillators, and then you also have a headphone output for listening in private. So that's very cool. So you can also control panning with an LFO, which is probably the more common way to do it. The LFO is not necessarily synchronized to any sequence you might be running, but then again, having things that are not synchronized can add randomness to your sound and make it sound bigger. So let's take a look at running panning with an LFO. Now an LFO signal is bipolar, so we would flip this switch that way. Okay, so let's play that same thing. Now it's just going to pan with an LFO. Okay, so that's just a couple of tips and ideas on panning. Panning is a very cool function, a very cool feature. A lot of the videos I do now are when I do a performance, I always have something panning typically in there. You know, if you run a sound through a big digital reverb or something like that, those have stereo outputs, so that gives width to your sound, another dimension. Panning can do that as well. So take a look at your options for panning and create some music. Appreciate you guys coming around and checking out these videos. If you're getting anything from them, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time.